Tonight, before you go to sleep, take out a banknote. Maybe it's $1, maybe it's €1, maybe it's just a number glowing on your phone screen. Now ask yourself a simple question. Why does this piece of paper have value? Or even stranger, why does a number stored inside a computer have value? You trust it, I trust it, nearly 8 billion people trust it. But for most of human history, money didn't exist. No coins, no banks, no salaries, no prices. For hundreds of thousands of years, every single one of your ancestors lived in a world without money, and yet somehow they survived. So what did they use before money, and how did one of humanity's strangest inventions end up controlling almost every part of modern life? To answer that, we need to go back, way back, long before cities, long before kingdoms, long before civilization itself. Let's start in the Stone Age. Imagine you're a hunter living 30,000 years ago. You spend all day tracking animals. Eventually, you bring down a deer. Now you have a problem. You have more meat than your family can eat before it spoils. Meanwhile, another family nearby has baskets full of berries. So you trade some meat for some berries. Simple. This is called barter. And at first it worked. But barter had a serious flaw. Think about this. What if you have fish and want shoes? The shoemaker might not want fish. Maybe he wants grain. Now you need to find someone who wants fish and has grain, then find someone who wants grain and has shoes. A simple trade suddenly becomes incredibly complicated. Economists call this the coincidence of wants problem. Both people have to want exactly what the other person has at exactly the same time. And as communities grew larger, this problem became impossible to ignore. Humans needed something better, something everyone would accept. And that's when the story of money began. But not with coins, not with paper, and definitely not with numbers on a screen. The first forms of money were often things that seem bizarre today. In different parts of the world, people used shells, salt, tea bricks,
animal skins, cattle, even giant stone discs weighing several tons. What mattered wasn't what the object was. What mattered was trust. If enough people agreed something had value, it became money. In ancient Africa, cattle were wealth. In parts of Asia, cowrie shells became currency. In ancient Rome, soldiers were sometimes paid with salt. In fact, the word salary comes from the Latin word for salt. Money was never really about the object itself. It was about belief, a shared story. And over time, one material began to stand above all others: gold. Gold doesn't rust. It doesn't decay. It's rare enough to be valuable, but common enough to be found. And perhaps most importantly, humans love it. Across continents that had never met each other, people independently decided that gold was special. That wasn't a coincidence. Something about gold captured the human imagination. And soon, kings realized something important. If everyone trusted gold, then whoever controlled gold controlled power. Around 600 BC, in the ancient kingdom of Lydia, located in modern-day Turkey, something revolutionary happened. The first standardized coins appeared. For the first time, a government guaranteed the value of money. You no longer had to weigh metal yourself. The king had already done it. Trade exploded. Markets grew. Empires expanded. Because money does something extraordinary. It allows strangers to cooperate. Think about that. You buy bread from someone you've never met. They accept your money because they trust someone else will accept it tomorrow. Money turns millions of strangers into a single economic network.
Without it, modern civilization would be impossible. But the story wasn't over, not even close, because carrying gold has a problem. It's heavy, it's dangerous, and it's easy to steal. So people began storing gold with goldsmiths and merchants. In return, they received receipts, pieces of paper proving ownership. At first, people redeemed the paper for gold, but eventually something interesting happened. They stopped bothering. The paper itself became enough. The receipt became money. And just like that, paper currency was born. This changed everything. For the first time in history, enormous wealth could move across great distances without moving gold. Trade accelerated. Businesses expanded. Entire economies transformed. But then humanity took another step, one that was even stranger. Governments realized they didn't actually need gold behind every banknote. As long as people trusted the system, the money worked. The value no longer came from metal. It came from belief. Today, most money isn't gold. It isn't silver. It isn't even paper. It's information, numbers inside computers. If all the physical cash in the world disappeared tomorrow, most wealth would still exist because modern money is largely digital. And that's a remarkable thought. For thousands of years, money evolved from cattle to shells, from gold to paper, from paper to pure information. Each step required more trust than the one before it, and somehow humanity kept trusting. But here's what's fascinating. Money didn't just change trade, it changed the human mind. Before money, wealth was often visible, a larger herd, a bigger harvest, more land. But money allowed value to become abstract. You could store years of labor inside a small pouch. You could save for a future that hadn't happened yet. You could build businesses, fund expeditions, create empires. Money allowed humans to cooperate across time as well as space. You work today, you save, and years later you spend the reward. That idea sounds normal to us, but it was one of the most powerful inventions in history. Money helped build roads, cities, universities, factories, entire nations. It connected people who would never meet and lifted billions out of poverty. But it also changed what humans cared about. For most of history, survival depended on relationships, family, tribe, community. Money introduced a different kind of power, a universal power, one that could often replace personal connections. And over time, money became more than a tool. It became a measure, a way to compare success, status, achievement, sometimes even self-worth. And that's where things become complicated, because money is one of the few inventions that exists entirely inside the human imagination. A lion doesn't care about money. A tree doesn't understand money. The universe itself has no concept of money. Money only works because humans collectively agree that it works. It is perhaps the most successful shared fiction ever created, and yet that fiction built the modern world.
Every skyscraper you see, every airplane crossing the sky, every smartphone in your pocket, every global supply chain, all of it depends on millions of people trusting symbols they will never fully see. Which brings us back to that banknote, or that number on your screen. It looks ordinary, but it represents thousands of years of human history. From hunters trading meat around campfires, to merchants weighing gold, to bankers printing paper, to digital networks moving trillions of dollars every day. Money is not really paper. It's not metal. It's not code. Money is trust. And trust may be humanity's most powerful invention, because the moment enough people believe in the same story, that story can reshape the world. For tens of thousands of years, humans gathered around fires and exchanged goods. Today, we exchange digital numbers traveling at the speed of light. The technology changed, the scale changed, the complexity changed, but the foundation remained exactly the same: a shared belief, a collective act of trust between strangers. And tomorrow morning, when you buy a coffee, tap your card, or check your bank balance, you'll participate in that story, a story that began long before the first coin, long before the first king, long before civilization itself. A story built on one simple idea: that something has value because we all agree that it does. And most of us never stop to realize just how extraordinary that really is.